What is up, hockey fans and Dallas Stars fans? Welcome back to Clean Sheet of Ice, a Texas hockey podcast brought to you by Apollo Media. The boys are officially in person for the first episode together. Me, your host, Stone Strankman, and my co-host, Dom Garcia. How we doing, bud?
Doing good, but the holidays are over. Stars gave us some Christmas gifts. They show up on New Year's Eve as they've been doing the past couple of years, and we're into the new year, and hopefully we see the same Stars that we've seen at home the past couple games.
Yeah, I mean, they're a lightning rod at home. They don't lose there very often, and if they do, it's a one-score game. It's never really a blowout. I mean, I watched the Maple Leafs. They kind of blew us out that one game, but yeah, they're just really good at home, and the road trip that they're about to go on is going to be kind of daunting. January, 17 games with 3 back-to-backs is just not ideal in any way, shape, or form. And then you got February. You get a 2-week break with the Four Nations tournament coming up. But, yeah, Stars, 5-0-1 in their last 6. Taking home points in 6 straight games is huge. Pete DeBoer said it was just big to get points in every game, especially with 5 of them being wins. They haven't played stellar, though. They just haven't. There's something missing, and that something missing is Tyler Seguin.
Yeah, unfortunately. The past couple games, we've seen Stankoven move from line to line. We're still trying to find that kind of balance in which lines work best. But what I've seen recently is that every time we let up a goal, we do respond. And, yeah, we've just been really good at – we've held leads in most of our games. And even if we're tied, I mean, we always answer. We never early in the year, we'd see us kind of like start strong and then let up off the gas towards the third period, but I've seen a lot of really good, fast, healthy skating the past couple games.
Yeah, the Utah game, I came back from Christmas break. I was all over the South and just having a great time with families and all that, but got to come back home on Saturday night and got a good Stars game. Utah Hockey Club, first time in Dallas. They show up, and they had 27 members of their organization up top in the press box. It was completely full. It was ridiculous. I know it's the first time they're in Dallas, but, I mean, Can we save the press box for the actual Dallas people? Like, there was just so many people there. But, yeah, Utah, they came out, and they're scrappy. They put up, 36, 39 shots or something that game on Saturday night. They were peppering Jake Ottinger, which is what we've learned is when he's at his best. If he sees less than 20 shots in a game, he is you could call mediocre or rough goalie when he sees less than 20 shots a game. And when he sees more than 20 shots a game, he is one of the best goaltenders in the game, which is why he got paid 8 times 8.25. Not a big deal. Congrats on the cheddar there, Jake. But, yeah, they were peppering him with shots, and they came out with a lot of juice, and they were hitting people, and it was late hits that none of them were called. I could tell in person there was a lot of questionable hits that the referees just did not want to call that game, and that was fine because Jamie Benn was there. And Jamie Benn was laying down the hammer. He had 2 breakaways. And then he ended up getting that goal on his third shot, just kind of a turnaround twister wrister. Like, he just kind of threw it at the net and it went in, opened the scoring up, and literally 16 seconds later, a minute, 16 seconds later, Utah ties it up. And that's kind of my qualm. Is we're not scoring enough goals, and when we do score a goal, we tend to let up a goal right after we score at home. It's been the whole problem this year, and it's kind of frustrating, but can't really argue too much when you're 5-0-1 in your last 6.
Yeah, I'm a pen to paper guy, so every single game I watch, like, I'm writing down who got the assist, where it came from, and I'm literally not done finishing our goal, and within 6 seconds, it feels like a goal went in. I look up and I'm like, oh my gosh,
yeah,
here we go again.
You got the whole crowd chanting Dallas Stars over and over and over again. The goal horn's blasting, the crowd is cheering. They do face off, and all of a sudden it's just a puck in the net, in your own net. It was deflating. The energy in the crowd at AAC was really. It was probably one of the better regular season crowds I've heard this season, and any other regular season I've been to. It was like a playoff type crowd on Saturday night, which was good because Saturdays, I've noticed, it's kind of a sparse crowd at AAC. It's full, but it's not the same. You'd expect them to be a little bit more rowdy on Saturdays, but they had it going on Saturday night. I can tell you that. And when the captain scores, it's electric.
He's turned back the clock, and he looks really fast.
Yeah, and you mentioned that Logan Stankoven has been moving around lines, obviously with Tyler Seguin's injury and now Mason Marchment's injury. Matt Dumba's injury. Like, everybody's been injured, so lines are shifting. People are trying to find their spots on the specific lines that they need to be on, and Jamie Benn has kind of been on the back burner. He's been lined up with fourth liners. He's been put up with rookies. Like, they just keep mixing the lines in with Jamie because he is a responsible hockey player. He is a smart hockey player. He's been playing. He's a veteran, obviously. He's the captain. He can play with anybody. But there was juice in Jamie Benn on Saturday night. Just, he looked like he was 28, 29 years old. He was flying around the ice, and that was because he was paired up with Wyatt Johnston, his line mate from last season when he scored 30 goals last year or whatever it was, 29. And he just looked like he had an extra pep in his step. And post-game, every time Jamie comes into post-game, it's not frustrating. It's just strange. He's the quietest person on the face of the earth.
That's what I've been told.
I'm standing 2 feet, 3 feet away from him, and I can't hear a word that he's saying in the locker room. And it's dead silent in there except for whatever Jamie's saying. I love Jamie. And the loudest he was in the press after the game in the locker room is when he was walking out. He's 10 feet out the door, and he goes, "Thanks, guys." And that was it. Like, that's the 2 words I heard from Jamie. But he had a good game. 3 shots kind of really quickly in the first period, and he was hitting people. He had that big truck behind the net early in the first period, I believe. And he just looked really good, and I think that's a key of pairing him with Wyatt Johnston, and Wyatt Johnston looked incredible that game as well. The assist on that goal as well. And, you just get those 2 guys together, and you can put the third. It doesn't matter who the third is. You can put Stank. You can put Bork. You can Dadonov. Like, you just throw someone else on that line. That line's going to be really good.
Absolutely. I mean, Wyatt Johnston, I think he's on a 6-game or 5-game point streak right now. And when the game's tight, like, every time he touches the puck, you at least are confident that the right play is going to be made. Whether it goes in, it's hockey. But when you have that kind of confidence, the rest of that line just always flows ever so tightly.
Yeah, and Wyatt, we've been waiting on him to get going. They put him on the top line with Rupe and Robo, and you think that's going to work, and you think it's just going to be Joe Pavelski's replacement. He lived with Joe Pavelski. You're like, all right, he picked up all of Joe Pavelski's instincts and characteristics and all that kind of stuff. And while Wyatt Johnston has done that, he is not Joe Pavelski. Joe Pavelski played for 19 years in the NHL. He was a captain. He's been to 2 Stanley Cups. Like, he was a guy, and he had 20 years of experience in the NHL. Wyatt Johnston is in his 3rd year now, and he can't just be Joe Pavelski, even at 39 years old, Joe Pavelski. So I think sticking him with Jamie is just the right move going forward throughout the rest of the season. Whenever you get Sagan back, I think you just keep Wyatt there. Dadonov's been really good on the top line. He plays very similar to Matt Duchene. They have similar aspects about their game.
Yeah, absolutely.
The way they think offensively and how they enter the zone and what moves and what shots they're willing to take is very similar. So I think Dadonov, you can put him anywhere, and if he's on your top line, you're like, okay, that's fine. If he's on your 4th line, you're like, oh boy. So yeah, it's just piecing together the lines has been difficult for Pete DeBoer with injuries, with sickness this season, and you can tell that it's a pain in his eyes whenever he comes into the press room after a loss, and you're just like, he just doesn't have his guys, and he doesn't know what his lines are just yet, and he's still trying to figure it out. But when you're 5-0-1, you can keep kind of doing stuff.
Absolutely. I mean, as a fan, it feels, with the pairings, it feels odd in that, like, the passing has been beautiful. I mean, some of the most difficult passing from Dadonov to Duchene, they're getting open looks, and it's just like the resets and the middle ice, kind of center ice kind of transition game has been weird, but there's not much I can complain about when you're winning games. So, and getting points, and such a huge jump has been made over the past 2 weeks, and I hope we carry it right into our road trip. Yeah,
and as NFL fans, we understand that a win is a win.
Yep.
Doesn't matter how it happens. Doesn't matter how it looks. If the Stars just keep winning and it's 2-3, if it's 1-2, you take those. You just take wins, and you get 2 points for win. Points are all that matters early in the season, and now that we're in January, heading towards the trade deadline into March, wins are wins, and it doesn't really matter how it comes. As long as they're playing their best hockey heading into April, then no complaints here. So the road trip, they're on the road for the next 5 games. They play 4 through Sunday, starting tonight with the New York Rangers. And they have one more road game after that, I believe, and then on next Tuesday, a week from today, and then they're back home for a game. Then back on the road, then back home. It's a chaotic, just an absolute mess of a January. 17 games, 3 back-to-backs. But this road trip for the next 4 games, New York Rangers starting tonight, Tuesday night in New York, 6 p.m. Central. A nice little, it's a little present, getting an hour early. You get to go to bed a little bit earlier if you want to. Last game against New York did not go the way that we wanted to at home. Can they change that?
I think so. I mean, I think they're getting into New York at the right time. A lot of positive energy, a lot of vibes in that locker room. New York, on the other hand, 3-11 in their last 13. They started off the year really, really hot. A lot of turmoil is going on in that locker room, and it's being public. Not really a fan of. I mean, in all sports, we're human. We're not, we're going to have people we work with that, some days are good, some days are bad. But when so much of the media knows what's going on, it gets unfortunate because, those are two of, like, I'm not even a fan of the Rangers, and I am upset with how things are going with them. But I believe Ottinger is in net tonight.
I would assume so. It seems like he just plays every game now.
Yeah, and DeSmith, you have looked good when they do put you in.
Yeah.
But if they're going to put a bunch of shots on Otter, he's going to be vintage Otter. And a strong start to this road stretch would do us some well. And I see too much of our players that we want to see getting shots. It's been happening, and I think that's going to continue. So I'm excited to see how we're tested tonight and going forward on this road stretch.
Yeah, Ottinger appears to be in net. Robert Tiffin and Sam Nessler were on the beat there. So Sam Nessler tweeted out that Jake Ottinger was first off the ice today, which appears that he will be starting. But that happened last week. He was first off the ice, and he didn't start that game. So it's possible that he doesn't. But I would assume Ottinger's in net. Pucks on net is always a good thing. However, it just hasn't been dropping for the Stars. They haven't had like an explosion since that, call it the Pittsburgh game or the game right after that, where they scored 7 goals back-to-back games. I'm expecting one of those to happen on the road trip. I'm expecting a 6-goal game or a 5-goal game where everyone's just like, they're flinging pucks at net and it just goes in for some reason. And Shesterkin's out, right? Like he's hurt.
Is.
So playing the backup, which they did. You said they're 3-11, 3-13, or whatever. The one of those games was against the Dallas Stars. Had to have been because it was later December. So, and it wasn't with Shesterkin. So, yeah, get a win tonight. Start the road trip off hot, and then move on to Philadelphia, which should be another win. Just plain and simple. They're not a good enough team to beat the Dallas Stars. The Dallas Stars are a much better hockey team, even with the injuries, even with the lackluster scoring that we've seen over the last month and a half or so. Then on to Montreal. Montreal's been pretty hot lately. They're creeping towards that wild card spot if they're not already in it.
Yeah, I think they're in it right now. I'd have to look at it, but just they're very much remind me of when we played just those really like the Utah team. They're not. Do they have the veteran and talent that the Stars have? No. But they're going to give you a game, and hopefully some penalties get called that should be called. But hey, it's not going to hurt me if we're not on the power play, just based on how we're playing. So
yeah,
it will definitely be a scrap, and I'm excited to see defensively how we pair.
I think Montreal is like a super young version of what the Dallas Stars are. They just kind of got a guy or two on each line where they play through all 4 lines, and that's kind of their memo. And just St. Louis and their coach is just getting the boys going. It's like a bunch of 4th liners, 3rd liners are playing on the top line, and then adding Patrick Laine. You got Nick Suzuki, Cole Caulfield, who's inexplicably left off of the 4 Nations roster, and he's got like 22 goals this season or something like that. Like he's been a monster this year. I don't know how he got left off. He'll be probably the first one called up if there's an injury. Montreal's going to be a tough one, especially on the 3rd game of a road trip. Like you've been on the road for 4 days at that point, and 5 days because I think they left yesterday. So, Montreal should be tough. They should win it. They're more experienced, and they got kind of the same feel. It's just a 4-line team, and anyone on any line can score at any time. And then they'll move on to Ottawa and play our favorite, Brady Tkachuk.
Yeah, and I saw that video when the United States World Juniors team won, and they were in Ottawa, and he's celebrating with them. But um, the last time we played him, man, he's I mean, God,
He scored and then had an assist, like back to back.
Yeah.
It was like 16, 25 seconds, something like that, and they scored 2 goals really quick.
and we were doing a good job of keeping the puck off of his stick, and even when it's on there for just 2 seconds, he'll find a way to give it to somebody for a really good opportunity. And they have ascended very well recently, and I was hoping they would crash, and I was hoping they'd make him available.
It's not going to happen.
It's not going to happen. No, he's too good to keep them out of contention.
Yeah. And I just wish he was available like a summer ago or 2 summers ago, like, or 3 summers ago. Just ever wanted him. I wanted him real bad. But Ottawa, it's a tough test. They're scrappy, like you said, like Utah, and they play hard, and they've got a superstar. And I think that's my one qualm with the Dallas Stars is there's no like top 15, top 25 player right now. Jake Ottinger is probably your best bet by metrics, is your top 20, 25 player. Miro Haskins not even anywhere near there right now because of point production. Not saying anything about Miro's game, but I think that's something that the Dallas Stars might be realizing is that he's just like, he's a finesse defender. He's good in the offensive zone, but he's not going to score you points all the time. And he's not necessarily the big setup guy. He's the guy behind. He's the third pass. Like, he's the third guy on the assist line. Like, he's just not going to get that many points. And speaking of superstars, I would like one. I would like one in Dallas. So, trade list candidates, yay or nay. Dom,
Here we go.
let's do it. Brock Nelson, New York Islanders.
Based off our team and what we're missing, let's do it.
Yeah. He's an unrestricted free agent in the summer. Jim Nill loves to do that. Obviously, Tanev last season, he was on UFA, and you got him for those few months, and he was really fucking good. But he just played defense. He was hard defense, big body, all that kind of stuff, and played really well, and it just came up short. Not a superstar, but I think Brock Nelson fits in on that third line with Jamie Benn and Wyatt Johnston. Once Sagan comes back, and then you can get your top lines, and you have top 3 lines, and then obviously Sam Steele on the 4th line has just been one of the best players for the Stars this season, and just no one talks about him at all.
Talented.
He's so good. He's so fast. He's scrappy. He finds his way to the net all the time with just like a defender on his back. He's like always got people behind him. It's incredible. But yeah, Brock Nelson, I'm in on it. UFA kind of scares me. I would like to have someone that's kind of locked up and you give up a prospect or a draft pick or something like that. But Mikael Granlund, San Jose.
You could talk me into it,
Yeah.
but what his biggest strength would be, I feel like we could go elsewhere.
He is another Evgeny Dadonov. He's another Max Domi.
Exactly.
He's your guy that you put on the 3rd or 4th line, and if you get something out of him, great. If not, he's just good in the offensive zone. He's a responsible hockey player, good IQ, all that kind of stuff. I think he'd be good. I'm looking for great. We want to win a Stanley Cup this year. You got to have someone that's great. I don't think Granlund fits that, but if he's one of 3 guys that you go get at the deadline, then yeah, I'm excited about that. But if he's your one guy that you go get, I think I'm good. Next name, Trevor Zegras, Anaheim Ducks.
This is the sexy one, and I can see him taking a lot of pressure off other Stars players. I can see this working out if we do get it done, and I am all for this one.
I'm in on Zegras if you do it in the next 3 weeks.
Yes.
I don't want Zegras coming in March. I don't want him coming in on deadline day because that's just not enough time to get integrated into Pete DeBoer's system, which is it's tough. Like the defenders, like when they come in, it's a completely different system. That's why we've been seeing issues with Matt Dumba. It's a completely different system than what most NHL teams run. So the sooner you can get a player in, the better, obviously, and especially with Zegras, where he's been just rotting in Anaheim since he showed up. Obviously, he's unhappy with the coach, unhappy with the situation. Zegras would be fun. You're going to have to give up a good haul for that. You're going to have to give up a first-round pick and a prospect or an NHL player at that. Like, you're going to have to give up something to get Zegras because he'll be under contract. He's a young player, and he could be an absolute stud for Dallas. But sooner rather than later, if he is available. Next name, Evgeny Malkin, Pittsburgh.
we were hearing rumors about this.
Right as Sagan went on LTIR.
The exact same timing. Pittsburgh, they felt like this year has just felt like the lowest of the low for this Crosby Malkin run. If there was a time for him and Crosby to be separated, it feels like it's right now. His playoff presence would be really nice to have, and I can see. It would be a shock to me to see him not in
Pittsburgh.
a Pittsburgh Penguin sweater, but I would certainly love the idea of him pairing with some of our younger guys.
Yeah, you throw him on the third, fourth line, and he's
Yeah.
just your goal scorer. You put him on power play 2, and he's just a threat out there. He's not as fast as he once was, but he's still, he's won cups. He's won a lot of cups, actually. So I'm in on Malkin salary retention on Pittsburgh. I want to know the number. I don't want to take that whole thing. Next name, Dylan Cousins, Buffalo. He's not all right. Prefacing this with he's not available per se, but Buffalo stinks out loud. And if you can steal this guy, he's under contract through 2029 on a 7 years, $7.25 million deal, I think is what it is. So, Dylan Cousins.
It wasn't a name I was expecting you to say,
Yep.
but now that you say it, even if we have to, give a little bit more than we'd like, dude, he'd pair good with a couple of our guys.
I'm trading Maverick Bork and another prospect and a draft pick immediately.
Yeah.
Immediately.
The thought of him on. Ooh.
He's a fun name. He's a fun name. I've been floating this around the press room. I'm just like, who the hell are we going to trade for? Because I'm not there every day like some of these reporters. And Sam and Robert, we always talk. And I'm just like, all right, who do they see? And Mikael Granlund and Brock Nelson are always the names that pop up because that fits Jim Nill's kind of MO when it comes to these trades. But Dylan Cousins just excites me. Warm and tinglies. Just feels good.
American Airlines would definitely love him skating around.
Next name, Taylor Hall, Chicago. Chicago stinks, so it's kind of anyone's available other than Bedard.
It feels like they will definitely be shopping a lot of pieces, and I don't think the return will be crazy.
No.
I'm going to go even more than saying I want him. Like, I kind of need him on this team.
He's fast. He's a goal scorer. Like, this is what I'm looking for in trades is someone that can come in and just score. Like, they don't have to be the setup guy. Their only job is to put pucks on net and put goals on the board. Like that, Taylor Hall fits that description, and he's a little bit older. He's kind of like Matt Duchene, bringing him in. Joe Pavelski, when he came in, it's kind of the same thing. It's a little bit leadership. Been through a lot. He's been on a lot of teams. He's kind of fit in most everywhere that he's been. I think Taylor Hall would be fun.
Yeah, this among all the names we've done so far, like we need to get on the phone now and get this one done.
Whenever I see Jim Nill, if I ever see him, I'm just like, why are you not on the phone right now? What are we doing? Next name. Now, this is where it gets really interesting because this came out last week, late last week. Vancouver Canucks, they're having a little bit of issues in the locker room between two players. These two players are on the list, Elias Pettersson and JT Miller. Which one would you prefer, and would you take both of them? Like, you can't take both of them, obviously, but, like, if you had to pick one, which one would you pick?
Both of them are unreal on the penalty, something we desperately need. JT is on some Jimmy Butler stuff right now with just absolutely causing chaos up there. Pettersson, for my money, I'd probably take. I mean, it's picking between 1 and 1A.
Yeah.
But looking at our team, I want to assume that Pettersson's return for Vancouver would be slightly less, but dude, JT's so good at scoring goals. I mean,
and he plays both ways.
Yeah,
he does everything. He's a 200-foot player and he scores goals.
Yeah, you add JT Miller to the Dallas Stars, you have one of the best hockey players you'll be able to find.
Because you throw him on the top line with Rupe and Robo.
Who do you guard? Like
It-
who do you game plan for?
All three of them can score at will whenever they want. For the
And
most part.
Robo's really been on a heater recently too.
He's been really good, and Rupe's been awesome as well.
I'd probably take JT over Pedersen, but
I think the locker room thing is the issue.
the fact that they're both available and like we're this deep into like media reports are saying that like they are pretty confident that some teams are closing in. It's unreal because they're so good. Like if you just ride it out in Vancouver, you might still have a playoff formula there. But hey, one man's trash is another man's treasure, and JT Miller on the Dallas Stars immediately put that jersey into my Fanatics account. Immediately get me hyped for the playoffs, and I will definitely have to be my first time in American Airlines for a playoff series.
Yeah, I would take either. I think Pedersen actually fits the Stars mold a little bit better. He's a quieter guy. He's foreign born. Like, they just love the Finnish guys, the Swedish guys. They just keep doing it. And he's under contract. He just signed it last year,
Yep.
right? Heading into the season. So he's under contract for another 6 seasons after this at what, 8?
Yeah.
8.5? Like, it's not.
Which will look better once the cap goes up.
Yeah, we got another year until the cap goes up, or it's going to go up this year. It's probably going to continue to go up each and every year. So then the Wyatt Johnston contract comes in, and then Logan Stankoven, and all those kinds of contracts are going to have to get done. I think Pedersen kind of fits that just because he's under contract for that much longer. But JT Miller, I think, is the 200-foot player that if you paired with Rupe Hintz, like you have two 200-foot players and then Robo. Your top line is back to what it was last year. It's just like, okay, well, our top line's going to score tonight. How many other lines are going to score?
The storyline this year has been the penalty unit, the power play unit has been atrocious.
Yeah.
You add JT Miller to that power play unit, like the rest of the league's in trouble.
It's scary. The other thing about so that's the trade list. That's all I had. That's what I came up with this morning. I was like, this seems like a good list. If you can get one of these guys, you're going to be in a better position. If you can get like Granlund and Zegras or Granlund and somebody else, then you're sitting in a decent position. You're better, but still not that superstar power that I think that the Stars missed last year in the Western Conference Finals. I mean, Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl and Zach Hyman, they all just took over the game.
Literally won series for their team.
They won the series. They almost came back in the Stanley Cup Finals against a team that has superstars. Like, you've got to have a super duper star in the NHL to win now, and depth. And we already have the depth. If you sacrifice a little bit of depth to get a superstar, I'm in. I'm all the way in on that.
I am too, because our 5-on-5
Best in hockey.
best in hockey. Yeah.
It's not even close, actually. Their 5-on-5 is insane. I think they're 1 or 2. Like
12 deep.
Yeah, anyone can score at any time. And Dadonov then goes to the 4th line if you get one of these guys with Sam Steele
Dadonov finds
and Blackwell or whoever.
He finds
Bork,
the smallest
Stankoven.
angles, dude. Jesus.
No, I'm just saying this would be really good. Last thing, 2 things before we go. Winter Classic, New Year's Eve, Chicago, Wrigley Field looked awesome, looked incredible. Great matchup with the uniforms. I thought it looked really good on ice. Terrible matchup on the ice, outside of the uniforms and the atmosphere. The Blues win 5-1, 5-2. It wasn't even a contest after the first period, really, or heading into the second period. Like, they scored 2 goals real quick, and it was just done. It was over. No juice.
I think going on Twitter afterwards, like the most talked about thing was the fight.
It was the least viewed Winter Classic that they've had since they started it. It was under 1 million. It was 900,000 people that watched it. And I was one of them. That was it. I was one person that watched it in the state of Georgia, I bet, on New Year's Eve. Like, everyone else had, like, the Boise State game was about to start, and, like, everyone's like, oh, college football playoff, we got to watch this. And I'm just like, I'll sit in the other room and just watch this terrible hockey game. I think I gave up in the 3rd period and just left.
And also, we had like a full slate of NHL games.
That was the weird thing, because I understand that the college football playoff was on, but why didn't you do it at 12 Central? Like, start an hour before college football playoff started.
Like,
That's when Texas played.
Yeah, like, I mean, it is what it is on like the college football thing, but like,
But they've always had that.
I watch as many games as I can, but if my team is playing, you best believe I'm watching my team, and just
Absolutely.
because they're at a stadium. Now,
Absolutely.
the attendance, at least in the broadcast, the attendance looked pretty cool. It's always, I mean, I think the idea of it is great, and going to places that are just non-traditional. Chicago, they had gone out for Chicago a second time, but
I think it's like third or fourth time in the Winter Classic.
yeah, and I think they lose every single time.
It's brutal.
But
Next year, Florida Panthers, Tampa Bay Lightning is rumored to be where it's going to be. I don't know where in the state of Florida you put that. I don't know how you get ice to just not melt, because I was in Miami right before Christmas and it was 82 degrees, not a cloud in the sky, no rain, no nothing. Like, I don't know how you do a Winter Classic in Florida, but I'm absolutely for it. I
Yeah,
would
that's
love to go to
insane.
Miami on New Year's and watch.
like the Winter Classic this year was so stale. I was seeing the anniversary of when they had the Winter Classic in the Cotton Bowl, and that made me jealous.
Yeah.
Because that was a scene. The weather was perfect. It might have been the highest attended.
Yeah, it was
at that
90,000
point.
people,
Yeah.
I think. Yeah.
And it just brought the feels of like, we got to get back to the Cotton Bowl.
Yeah, absolutely. I think in the next few years we'll get another one, just based on how successful that one was. You had 88,000 people in the Cotton Bowl. You had tailgaters. You had the State Fair behind you. I know the State Fair wasn't going, but like they have all that stuff right there. And that was a fun game too. It
Yeah.
wasn't like a lackluster game. There was fights. There was penalties. Corey Perry got ejected in the first period and had the long walk back to the
Yeah.
locker room, like a mile walk into the Cotton Bowl. I would love another one here, and I would assume the next one will be at AT&T Stadium. It won't be in the Cotton Bowl, if I had to guess.
I think so. And hopefully, if it's maybe 3, 4, 5 years from now, we got a team right here in Houston to play against them.
That would be marvelous. I will wait for the next Winter Classic until Houston shows up, and then we can do Battle for Texas. Make
Would
some
be
shirts.
insane.
It'd be great.
Would be insane.
Last thing before we go, World Juniors recaps. USA back to back for the first time in a very long time. I don't know if it's even happened before. It's been a long time, if not. Like, Canada just won it for years.
Yeah, and I think the first USA title was like in the 2000s. So
Yeah, I don't think we've had a back-to-back. But back-to-back, Canada loses before the medal round to the Czech Republic, the Chechians. And, yeah, Canada's in a real tough spot with that. Apparently there's a lot of turmoil with the coaching decisions of who to pick for the teams. They left a lot of talented guys on the board in Canada, and obviously it didn't pay off because they didn't even make it to a medal round.
yeah, it was weird.
Back-to-back years, they haven't made it to a medal round.
They left first round picks just at home. Didn't even give them like a invite to camp. And then while they're, by the way, it's in Canada.
Yes.
So they're in their backyard, and hey, let's lose a game, and instead of firing the boys up in the locker room, let's just take a day off. Let's just go back home. Let's relax. Get ready for the next game. The fans went absolutely nuts. Even like the Steve Dangle Podcast Network went nuts on it. There was outrage, but then like as days passed by, like they were like realizing, all right, these are still kids. Like every single one that went out there played as hard as they could, but the management is who is to blame for this, but also everyone else is catching up.
Yeah, and that's the biggest thing. Like, Canada losing to Latvia never happens.
Never.
And they lose to them, in game 1 or 2?
Yeah.
Like, it's brutal. And then losing to the Czechs heading into potential medal rounds, like, you can't lose that game in any way, shape, or form, and they did. But USA-Finland was an absolute show. It was incredible. Finland was up 3-1 in the second period. USA 3-2, USA 3-3, into overtime. And it was 3v3 overtime for 20 minutes. They were playing 20-minute periods, 3v3, open ice everywhere. It was a spectacle. It was just
Pinball.
incredible. It was awesome. I can't remember the Stars prospect that got drafted in 2023. That he played for Team USA.
Yep.
He got the secondary assist on the game-winning goal, I believe, in the semifinals against who did we play? Sweden.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we got that going, but yeah, the U.S. just freebird happening right after every goal. Them having a golden goal in overtime. They're rushing the ice. Goalie gets tackled. There's a mob on the ice, and freebird's just blasting in your ears. Can't get more patriotic than that.
Such a good primer for the Four Nations.
Oh yeah. That's gonna be fun.
And Fanatics, please, I want to buy USA merch. We have none right now.
No.
What do we like?
We're a month out.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like, come on.
Yeah, that's if we're not wearing the throwback like the USA diagonal down the chest. I don't know if I want it. I don't want a shield.
Yeah,
I need the Miracle on Ice jerseys. Just a modernized version of that every time. That's all I need. Every single time. Just do it that way. Every time.
every time.
It just works. Just do it. Yeah. So Four Nations World Juniors was awesome. Everybody was hyped up. Finland is incredible. I think Finland's the dark horse in the Four Nations. If you asked us, we're big proponents of the Finnish people because they're all on the Stars, like
Yep.
half of them. So yeah, I think it's going to be a good break for the Stars heading into the Four Nations after a very long January and a number of games in February heading into that. But only 4 players are going, right? So it's Rupe Miro, Essa Lindell, and then Jake Ottinger. I think that's
Should be
the
Matt Duchene, but
Matt Duchene should be on Team Canada,
that's
but
neither here nor there.
if Canada keeps losing, I'm not going to be mad about it. It's so funny when they lose. They're like, "This is our sport," and then they just keep losing. And why? What are we doing? And then just not putting the. Although Team Canada's far too stacked.
Yeah,
McDavid, McKinnon, Crosby, McCarr. He's kind of like 4 of the top 5 guys. It's terrifying. But Team USA, I mean, they've got Austin Matthews. They got Quinn Hughes. They got the Hughes brothers. Like, they've got some star power of their own. It's just Canada's got a lot. But I think Team Finland, the power of friendship, might just prevail.
chemistry.
Yeah. They just play really well. I don't know why they all just understand each other much better than any other country.
Yeah, yeah.
They just like, yeah, I know exactly where you're going on the ice. Don't worry about it. It's weird. Like Essa Lindell and Miro Heiskanen, whenever they get paired up together later in a game, it's the most like, it's frictionless.
And that's what kind of makes you nervous about Team USA is because they're so star power driven.
Yeah.
They're so puck hungry. You're just hoping that it doesn't turn into an NBA All-Star game.
And everyone's just trying to put pucks on
Yeah.
net. Yeah. And they get the puck and shoot it. Yeah. Maybe not, but we got goaltenders. So I don't know. Four Nations will be fun. World Juniors, USA back-to-back, not a big deal. But shout out to Prize Picks. It's our daily fantasy sponsor, Prize Picks. Use code Apollo when you sign up and get up to $100 match on your first deposit. Prize Picks is where you hit more or less on every stat, every game, every night, every player. It's really easy to use. Just go sign up, download the app, sign up, put your email in, all that kind of stuff. But use code Apollo when you sign up, get to a $100 match. You put in $100, Prize Picks will just give you another $100. And then you have $200 in your account. Make some money, win some money with Prize Picks. Our daily fantasy app, use code Apollo when you sign up. But this has been Clean Sheet of Ice, Apollo Media's Texas Hockey Podcast. We'll be back next week, Tuesday or Wednesday, to recap the road trip heading into a one-game homestand into another road trip and back-to-backs. But we'll be back very, very soon with another Clean Sheet of Ice, Texas Hockey Podcast with Apollo Media.